Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Do you know what a reptilian brain is? In humans, it is the brain that controls automatic aspects of our system like breathing, temperature control, hunger, satiation, the fight-or-flight response, etc. All the things you don't really control. Now, actual reptiles you see in nature only have this type of brain. Alligators, snakes, lizards, turtles, etc. are all descendants of dinosaurs. If they had the upper hand in any situation over you, they would immediately attack you, no questions asked. Unlike those reptiles, humans evolved from mammals, even though we do have a smaller reptilian part. Mammalian brains are based on emotions and allow us to experience different feelings like fear, joy, sexual attraction, etc. Okay, now let me ask you. Imagine for a second that dinosaurs didn't go extinct, and that there was no mammalian period that led to the chimpanzee evolving into today's intelligent species of the Homo sapiens. Imagine that some reptiles evolved to become an intelligent species and never developed the mammalian brain that gives us emotions and the ability to experience empathy. Do you really think that these intelligent reptilian beings would have the ability to perceive the pain others experience? Do you think these intelligent reptilian beings will go, "Oh, look at Jimmy sitting alone in his room with no friends. I feel bad for him," or even, "Oh, this guy broke his leg. Ouchie, I feel his pain"? Of course not. And this is why the reptilians can't possibly be good, because they are an intelligent species that never developed the ability to feel emotions through the mammalian brain. And, as you probably already know, crossbreeding between reptiles and mammals is not possible. So they can't just breed with humans and give birth to a mixture of mammalian reptilian individuals who might, to some degree, possess the faculty and sensitivity to experience emotions. TLDR. Reptilians have reptilian brains. No emotions equals evil and bad.
Reptilians tend to be smarter than humans, though. How else would they develop advanced technology?
Who says they aren't more intelligent than humans? In fact, reptiles have been around way longer than mammals. And if some intelligent species managed to survive the dinosaur extinction, then they would have had way more time to develop. On top of that, many experts advance the hypothesis that the chimpanzee brain started growing, both in size and neuronal connective tissue, when the chimpanzee stopped using its arms to climb in trees, but instead started walking on two legs. In other words, our intelligence skyrocketed the moment we stood up on 2 feet. Now, do you know the number of dinosaur species that were already walking on 2 legs back then? It's quite impressive. It's even more impressive when you realize that dinosaurs were around for about 165 million years and went extinct about 65 million years ago. To put things in a little bit of perspective, do you know when our chimpanzee ancestors started walking? Between 6 to 3 million ago, which are breadcrumbs compared to how long dinosaurs were here for. And that's without counting the reptilians that are allegedly still here today.
A reptilian story. Working as a delivery driver for a pretty large company. They sent me to deal with one of their long-time contracts. I knew, so they forced someone to tag along with me. An older guy that's been with the company for decades. He sleeps most of the way there. Wakes me up only to make me stop for food. Diner in the middle of nowhere, wherever. Someplace between Arkansas and Oklahoma. It's empty except for us and a guy in a corner booth who looks like a stereotypical man in black, except I didn't even think about it at the time. Just notice a black suit, black hat, and very pale skin. A co-worker and I are eating in silence when the old guy grabs me by the wrist. Eyes are saucers as he says,
"Don't look."
Instant goosebumps. My first thought is, oh great, that pale dude pulled out a gun. But the old guy says,
"That man behind you has a lizard tongue."
Interesting. PNG. Ask him WTF he means.
He snatched a fly out of the air with his tongue like a frog.
I'm skeptical, but the guy lets go of my wrist and whispers,
"He's coming."
Can't help but take a peek. Our table is next to the entrance. The men in black dude pauses right by us to push the door open. He turns and looks right at me. His face is green with dark scales. Scales have all of these red dots on them, like big-ass freckles. This is about 2 p.m. at this point, so it's not dark whatsoever. The sun is right in his face. I can see that his eyes were bright yellow where they should have been white. See this all while the man's standing inside. When he pushes through the doors and walks past us, I can see him through the window. His skin is pale again, not green or scaly. He drives off in a black vehicle. Old guy tells me not to tell anyone.
They'll think I'm crazy and I can't lose this job.
Strange things are out there, anons.
Be last week. Go visit my parents. Hanging out for a while, randomly Dad asks me, weird question, but did you have any strange dreams last night? I laugh and say yes, but kind of shrug it off and don't give details. Dad had dreamed that he went to visit his friend only to find he'd gone missing without a trace, realized suddenly that entire neighborhood was quiet, and tried calling random family members but couldn't get an answer. Saw an alien craft floating overhead before waking up. Mom dreamed that my cousin had gone missing and was on the phone with his mother, my aunt, before aunt suddenly screamed and the line went dead. Sees an odd-looking humanoid in the window before waking up. I confess that in my dream, the same cousin had gone missing along with relatives of some of my friends. In the dream, friends and I are searching all the usual hangout places of said relatives, trying to find them. See alien craft while driving between places, flee from it. Ambushed by an odd-looking humanoid similar to Mom's description, reptilian humanoid with a scorpion tail. Mom randomly talks to Aunt on the phone the same evening and finds that she had been sleepwalking the night before, and her roommate claims she was saying all of our names before she woke up.
Okay, so what we know about these guys is that they're bad news. Plain and simple. The reptilians have infiltrated every walk of life, and especially in regards to politics and industry. Anyone who speaks ill about them will die soon. I know that sounds crazy, but we must assume their capabilities involve using the internet and mind reading, control. Reptilian information online is all controlled by them, for the most part. The real truth is that while they've ascended in some forms of biotechnology, they've become even less capable than they were before. These beasts rely on their technology because the current reptilians are not nearly as scary as their ancestors were. These modern-day reptilians are a bit weak, so they're doubling down on their subterfuge. I think every top position worldwide is now under their control. That's why there's a disconnect between humans at the lower economic end than there is at the higher, and it's not all pertaining to greed or ego. The reason there's a disconnect is because these are not humans. In regards to reptilian locations and where to find them, I've gathered that their main cities are underground. Shocker, I know. The entrances are formed with precision engineering and show no openings upon the cavern's walls. As to what specific cavern you can find them in, I have no clue. All I know is that there's no markings or signs of entry. For the very select few who have gained entry, they say once you're in danger. I don't know anything about their cities, just that if you make it past the entrance, you're probably going to die. Foul beasts supposedly guard the entrances. Reptilian Society is hierarchical. They are descendants of dinosaurs, or perhaps of a certain dinosaur.
Just consider that if reptilians truly did rule the whole planet, or even just the USA, they would not want us to think they are evil. They would want us to not know they exist, and they would subtly produce movies or shows depicting reptilians as heroes or allies to humans. Our Hollywood depicts reptilians in the exact opposite way. They are always the villains in movies to the point that they are just unrealistically evil. This is why even normies and NPCs think that if reptilians are real, then they must be evil. Truth is, reptilians are just a scapegoat used by the aliens who really control the planet. Everything they are guilty of doing, they place on the reptilians. If we ever get close to globally realizing who controls us, they will undoubtedly attempt to place the blame on the reptilians and get us to fight them instead.
Reptilians eat all humanoids, and I suspect they even eat their own. Look at regular lizards. They do the same, and so do snakes and gators. Space lizards are just spacefaring cannibals who utilize deception before they even meet someone and make convincing lies when they do. Everything is about them eating anything they believe they can because they believe if it can be eaten, it was deserved to. They're also the only space species that screws what they eat.
Sole motivation for all that research and resources spent to achieve spaceflight is just so they can eat new humanoids. Give me a break. With minds that focused on eating, I would imagine they would have a hard time working together, too many smart lizard nerds getting eaten by the lizard chads. By the time they got to Earth, they would already be down to nothing but the biggest and dumbest lizards on board.
After all their geniuses were consumed by the strong ones, they then crash-landed the ship on Earth because they are too dumb to fly it on their own, and by some miracle trick humans with their 2-digit IQs. Yeah, they also deceived humans with lizard speak, because all their language experts were decomposing in the septic tank of their crashed ship. What a miracle. Truly must be blessed by God to pull that off. Their divine mission to eat and rule all the other species in the universe is destiny. Doesn't that just sound comically evil? Completely unrealistic? Come on, man, that is some blatant propaganda. You are too smart to believe that. Not any different than how Americans are portrayed by the North Korean government, and you know that is propaganda. Also, people tend to propagandize against those who typically initiate it first. The First World Wars involved America strictly because of propaganda like they're trying to do with Russia and Ukraine right now.
Are you saying the Reptilians were pushing anti-human propaganda on their civilians before we started making anti-lizard propaganda? Probably telling them we are all savage chimps that will attack them on sight if they come on the surface. Not entirely wrong, but I wouldn't shoot at them. Man leaders are literally always shit whether you are human or reptilian. Why can't we just get along? I bet the most open-minded humans and reptilians could be friendly with each other. I know it's all BS, so chances are there's some reptilians that think the same.
The lizards put anti-human propaganda in things made by humans. They try to get us to fight one another like doom monsters.
My girlfriend and I were fishing at a stone quarry in Sugar Grove, Illinois on May 5, 1988, that was pretty much surrounded by cornfields and some small patches of light forest and shrubbery. The sun had just set and we were behind stone walls inside the small quarry, so it was getting darker a little faster. On one side of the quarry the stone wall was elevated 40 feet, that is the side we face while fishing, while the area behind us slowly rose to a cornfield edged by shrubbery and small trees. The edge of the trees and shrubbery is about 15 to 20 yards behind us. We were sitting on the edge of the water contemplating packing up when all of a sudden we heard this very loud roar, and I mean loud. It made us both jump up instantly. It roared, howled, again. I could see the outline of a creature with a large head and large eyes. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it at the creature. It had very large greenish-orangish oval eyes. It roared again and you could see very large predator-like teeth. Then it moved through the trees and shrubs so fast we could not see it move until it was at its next destination. Then it roared again. It had a roar that was not like anything that lives on this planet, especially in Illinois. I can still mimic the sound that it made. It was very scary. The creature was at its closest 10 yards and maybe 50 yards at its furthest. The eyes reminded me of a large reptile. The next day I went back with my friend to see if I could see anything or any signs of anything. I could not see anything such as tracks or broken limbs. Nothing. My buddy and I started fishing. We were there for about an hour when it started to get dark again. We packed up and started to walk up the short path to my Jeep when we both stopped in our tracks. Coming across the cornfield at treetop level was a craft. It had several lights on it and it had a large light that shined on us for a few seconds. Then it made a 45-degree turn and went out of the atmosphere in the blink of an eye. The craft we saw did not have a sound. We were pretty much surrounded by the stone quarry. We could hear a pin drop on the other side, but this craft did not have a sound.
There is some merit to the lost civilization meme. We used to be more advanced, but they literally nuked us and destroyed a planet in our solar system. I suspect probably for occult reasons. Every planet's presence in our solar system contributes to us in unseen ways, and depending on the position of planets and the timing of one's birth, determines some of the traits we are born with. The strongest, of course, come from our parents, but the planets do play a role. In fact, if one were to understand them completely with good timing, they can utilize the position of planets and their movement for occult workings. At the same time, their position and movement can also make it where the tide of energies are against one, and can make it where a spell working simply doesn't provide fruit. The stronger the soul, though, the easier it is. If I had to compare it to something, it's like riding a bike. If the positions and movements are favorable for what one is doing, it'll be like riding a bike with the wind to your back, aiding you, making it easier to get to where you want to go. However, if their positioning and timing happens to be counter to what one is trying to do, it's like riding the bike against a strong, steady wind. You need a lot more energy to get where you want to be. I think swimming in a river with currents might be a better analogy for normal people, though, considering if the current is strong enough, it takes you instead. However, if one is strong enough, they can swim against the current. Regardless, we have been nuked by the reptoids, that's for sure. It's why there are sites on Earth with nuke-level radiation being emitted, even though we have no record of ourselves dropping one. Reptoids are more advanced than we are technologically, and they literally have slave races doing their dirty work.
This incident happened back in 1995 when I was 15 years old. It was very horrible. I witnessed two guys that may have been like government agents or some other secretive governmental agents. They kidnapped my dad and left someone in his place that looked just like him. I later found out that the person left behind was a reptilian cloaked as a human. This person became rather rude to me as time went on. However, he talked with me and he could even heal with his bare hands. He told me that we humans were looked down upon as sheep, and he knew I had witnessed the two agents kidnapping my dad, and he said I was next. I became very scared. He had me taken to a place against my will and met with what looked like a special forces group who forced me to sign paperwork against my will, and the guy who looked identical to my dad was standing there. I was spying on him one night and saw what looked like a snake's tongue come out of his mouth. I later discovered he was a reptilian. A very short human who looked like a midget was helping him. I think he was a gray-cloaked human. I heard them talk in English, but then started talking in alien lingo, which sounded kind of Far Eastern. Yes, I'm here to tell you they can cloak and simulate our world undercover. My real dad, the one I saw whisked away, was retired military, and I often suspected him of doing something or being involved with the government or doing something secretive that may have led to all this happening to me. I also found implants that feel like something under my skin. One was an upside-down triangle or diamond shape. They also stabbed me and then heated me with their eyes, which left a very weird scar on my leg. I never told anyone as I was so scared of how these entities seemed to be able to operate with impunity, and like nothing could stop them. They also conducted very horrible activities and what seemed like mental brainwashing experiments on me. After all these years, I'm still scared to this day, but I believe it was time to come forward. I just wonder what happened to my real dad.
I encountered a weird albino-looking reptilian while out for a walk one night. It had a long, lanky appearance and eyes that glowed. Not shined, but had a kind of bioluminescent effect. It had fangs, but they weren't super prominent. It didn't make any sounds, it just looked at me. I only had my eyes on it for about 3 or 4 seconds before it disappeared. When it disappeared, it made this loud cracking noise, like when a bullet whips past your head. When I say it disappeared, it kind of snaked into the air, very fast. I had trouble comprehending what actually happened when it did, because I was trying to make sense of what I heard and saw. Haven't seen one of those things since then. Anyone else seen a thing like this?
I have heard of and seen reptilian beings in the area 5 miles east of Phoenix, Arizona. The Superstition Mountains have been an area of encounters and is said to have both an alien base and laboratories under it. The military also have an underground base there and interact on experiments with the aliens. About 20 years ago I encountered an individual that spent time exploring some of the old mines in the area. He had vanished for months before I ran into him again. I asked him where he had been all this time. Here is his story. He spotted a mine entrance on the west side of the main mount side. He said that the mine looked to be in good shape, so he started walking in the shaft. He had gone about a half mile and when he saw a sign that said no entrance beyond this point. The mine shaft was still in good shape, so he went in a 100 yards. He told me that people seemed to come out of the walls of the shaft. Men in black uniforms questioned him and then took him to a holding area in Mesa, Arizona for 72 hours. They questioned him again and found out that his home was in Colorado. They gave him a plane ticket to Denver, Colorado and told him never to come back to the Phoenix area. He asked me not to tell anyone that I had seen him. He wanted to pick up personal items that got left behind. I have never seen him after that. There are other stories of treasure hunters going into old mine shafts and finding holographic walls in the shaft. They did not try to enter the area behind the wall as they feared that they may not be able to get back out. They told me that they took a round rock and rolled it through the screen and heard it roll for some distance. One of them reached through the screen with a flashlight in his hand. He turned the flashlight back toward the screen, but could not see any light. He said that he withdrew his arm as he had the feeling that something was back there and he didn't want it to grab his arm and drag him in. I asked the men to take me up there and show me the mine. They all said no way they were going back in there. We got a topo map out and they showed me the area that they had encountered the wall. I did go into the area to search but was never able to find the mine. This is not strange as other people have found an opening and marked the entrance with a pyramid of large rocks and left to get lights and more people and equipment. When they got back, the rocks were still there as they had stacked them, but the entrance was gone. There have been sightings of reptilians about 9 feet tall in that area. As soon as they sense that they are being watched, they vanish. People have also seen lizard beings about the size of a man with bat-like wings and a tail. They fly out to the opening in the cliffs at twilight and also vanish if they are being watched. The Native Americans have seen these things for hundreds of years and have legends about them. They say that they are shapeshifters and can make you see them in any form they want. I found this out on a personal encounter with a reptoid I encountered on a trail. As I was walking up an inner trail in the mountains, I looked up and saw a man coming towards me on the trail. He had appeared out of thin air. As I walked toward him, I noticed his eyes. They were reptilians, vertical slits. When he sensed that I knew what he was, he hit me with a psychic blow that I can only describe as being hit in the head with a sledgehammer. It stunned me and almost drove me to my knees. As I shook this off, I looked up and he was gone. I had a headache for 2 days after that and thought that he could have killed me if he wanted to. These are just some of the strange things that have been seen up there. We have seen different types of alien craft that appear to enter the main mountain. Ghost orbs and UFO orbs that have been seen in different areas for hundreds of years disappear at different old mines, wells, and some just enter the face of the mountains. I would love to get in touch with a well-equipped investigative group and have them check out some of the strong magnetic fields that may act as dimensional portholes where some of these creatures come and go. I read about another encounter in Carthage, Missouri. The fact that it happened in a Navy storage area was no surprise to me. They have been given reign over housing UFO and aliens since the formation of Majestic 12 after the Roswell crash. One day our government may tell us the truth on their involvement with alien encounters and tech that has been traded for their abduction of us.
I'm going to tell my story and offer a theory. I'd like to hear any theories you have because what I experienced is really messing with my head, and I want to know what is going on. Here's a quick rundown on what just happened. Be a police officer. Subject with a knife call, a guy is waving a knife around and lunging at people. Show up, no one in the area. Second call comes out, okay, this isn't BS. Start searching all nearby lots. Sure enough, I happen to be the one that finds a meth head sitting in the corner of an abandoned building with a big-ass kitchen knife. Tactically get out of my car, gun drawn, yelling commands. Partner gets there quickly, has a taser out like a dumbass. Guy isn't following commands, screaming about the Illuminati, making threats, saying just tase me, shoot me, trying to force our hand. Suddenly becomes compliant, drops the knife, walks away and lays down. Cuff him up quickly, start talking, trying to figure out WTF his problem is. Keeps talking about the Illuminati. I entertain his comments because I like crazies and know about /X/ related things. He wasn't well versed, didn't even know the Masons or Hermetics, very basic knowledge of the esoteric. He did say something like, I have demons in me I can't keep inside anymore. Yeah, okay, bud, don't come at me with that edge again. Victims he lunged at don't want to press charges, but obviously the guy is a danger to himself and others. Decide to involuntarily commit him to a psychiatric facility. Driving along with him in the cage. He keeps moving around and looking up to see if I'm looking. The guy better not be trying to slip his cuffs, keeping a close eye on him. He stops, literally just stops all movement, eyes open, completely neutral look on his face. His eyes just change into something like a lizard. Tactically freak out. Bro, what's up with your eyes? No response, same dead look. His eyes stay like that for a good minute. I'm looking in the mirror and back to the road. I even looked back once to make sure it wasn't glare, removed sunglasses to make sure it wasn't the lenses. I was looking at him through dark lenses, yet he made dead-on eye contact the entire time. Looking at the road, snap back to looking in the mirror, his eyes are normal again. Then he just takes a nap. Get to the facility. Partners follow in case he gets combative again. One tells me he's got a warrant for his arrest, possession of meth. Welp, wasted a trip to the hospital, but get to take meth, head to jail now. Take him to booking. Keep looking in the mirror, it doesn't happen again. Ask him about it, he just laughs nervously. Get to booking, ask him nicely to exit the vehicle. Starts loudly screaming. Easily the loudest sound I've ever heard a human make. Maybe the loudest I've heard any creature make. I hate you guys, I'm going to kill you. God damn it, now we have to drag him out. 4 officers stack up on the door, pull his ass out, carry him kicking and screaming. He tries to bite our legs. Congrats on your new aggravated assault charges. Throw him in a cell, still screaming like mad. So what the hell, I thought this reptilian bullshit was just memes and maybe actual schizophrenia, but I just saw it with my own eyes. Now this guy was a meth user. I've had other homeless drug users do and say things that lead me to believe they were possessed in some way, like one who could pretty much read my mind. My theory is demons or aliens, whatever these things are, prey on the weak and possess them. Drug users are usually very weak people. Their brains are completely fried to the point they can't take care of themselves anymore. They just wander the streets like the living dead, only instead of brains, it's drugs. Seriously, I've sat there and watched them. They'll just wander back and forth in a parking lot for hours in the middle of the night, doing absolutely nothing, like their brain just isn't there. No one cares about these people, not even themselves. They're vulnerable, prime targets for possession, and the drug abuse only aggravates their primal behavior, like the whole bath salts causing cannibalism thing. I don't want you guys to think, oh, I can contact demons by trying meth. No, you're going to screw your brain to the point you're just an empty shell for them to control. Stay away from drugs seriously, but the point of this isn't to teach a moral. I want #'s input on this. What do you have on these reptilians, and why did one just try to stab my face off?
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.